Hey dudes, welcome back to RC Cars UK. Paddy with you here again. Now you notice what we've got here is the body resting on top. Nothing's been cut out yet obviously, which is why it's sat so jacked up and lifted. What we've got is the axle has been switched at the front. Gearbox is mounted properly now, it's all bolted down. This was a rear axle on the front here, and now we've got a front axle there instead. We're having some dilemma at the moment about placement of rear axles here. Let me just move that along a bit. Basically, if I show you, this is why I'm mocking up the body on top. That's gonna sit sort of roughly like this. Now, the thinking was, if I zoom out a little bit more there, right, the thinking was that, well, firstly, Paul McNamara sent me the spare bed that I actually sent him quite a while ago now, for a couple of years maybe ago, I can't remember now. Basically, I've got hold of another spare bed, right. So, obviously, I didn't want the original wheelbase to stay here in conjunction with this second wheel. Now the reason for that being is it's too far apart. Every time I noticed when I did one of these builds on these Fords, they had too much underbelly here, too much belly pan, and it would get caught up on the rocks on its belly all the time. So to combat that, what we're going to do is we've dragged the wheelbase from its usual position of here, which is about 460 millimeters, to a bit forward. So we've probably lost 60 millimeters there, 6 centimeters in wheelbase on the second axle, which is the first rear axle. And then on here, I was thinking of putting this one around about sort of here. Just ignore the fact that this body's so jacked up, obviously. I know it doesn't look right now, it looks really derpy. But what I figured out is, obviously, I was going to elongate out one of these arches, yeah? But I can't do that because I will destroy the shape of the arch, because there's obviously a swage here, yeah? So what I'm going to have to do is actually chop the bed here, lose this rear bed firewall at the back here, this bulkhead, chop straight down here at the start of the inner arches, yeah, and then once it's chopped here, move this arch forward so it's over that wheel, and then chop at the rear about here, I would say, and then go straight up, remove this rear section completely, and then on this one, cut here, cut, and then leave the rest. So I only need to cut here on this one, take out this rear bulkhead again, and plonk this one in its place like so. That's the theory anyway, so wish me luck on that one. One thing I have noted, if I want to get that right, obviously I'm going to have to move this one forward so they both sit. One will sit like that, one will sit like that. That's the plan anyway. So what we will gain is, in essence, not much more total length, because this body is already over 70 centimeters in length. That's not much further, you know. With this on the back, we're probably going to be running, don't forget we're going to shorten this as well, so we are going to lose some here, but then we are going to gain some on the back here. So I estimate probably about 85 centimeters total length. Now getting the wheel placement is going to be fun. That's why I've left this axle off at the moment. I've left that off because I wasn't quite so sure what was going where and how things were going to work with this rear bed. But as you can see, we are making progress. It's just that things are going a little slowly at the moment. I've got quite a bit on, so yeah, if you stick with us in this video now, what we'll do is we'll carry on and could do a few more bits and bobs, and hopefully get this rear axle pinned up. We're going to have to cut these rear beds as well, so wish me luck, and I'm going to go and cut these rear beds as well now. Thanks guys. Right, as you can see guys, we're having a right nightmare trying to get these beds to line up.
I've made this bottom piece up, so this is the bottom piece. There'll be a top piece as well. This was all cut out by hand because I didn't have anything else to cut it with. Didn't have any wood bits. Anyway, right, so main problem with this is, if I just zoom out a bit so you can see. So this is the front where the bulkhead was, this being the rear portion of the first bed. It's actually tapered, so the bed's actually shorter width at the back than it is at the rear. The rear's 10mm wider. Well, should I say the front, if you will. The front's 10mm wider than the rear where the drop-down tailgate was. So yeah, it's making things very interesting because I'm having to heat things up with a lighter to get things to line up and everything, and it's just becoming a little bit of a nightmare, to be honest with you. But there we go. You can see here how clearly mismatched they are in shape from where I've cut them. So yeah, it's been fun, and I'm not even thinking. I mean, I've just started making up the second template for the top now. But yeah, it's taken quite a while, to be honest with you. It's becoming a bit of a ball ache, this part of the job. Anyway, stick with us and we'll crack on, and we'll get some more done. Right, so here's the bed attached underneath. I've had to pin the sides with a bit of wood that I used for the bed and some super glue. I've glued them up just to pin them in position so they don't shift from where I need them to be, really. And then I had to very carefully drill this out and bolt it on at all four corners, which you can see I've done. So when we turn over, just very carefully at the moment, so the top piece goes on as well, and then top piece can sit however it sits. I was going to use the wood side of it, but I think, to be honest, I'm just going to paint it black. Quite like how the underneath looks with the black. So yeah, once this is all trimmed up properly, this will sit in there on top just like the other one did underneath. So we'll crack on with that now as well, and should be finished with this soon, as in securing them together. And then the task will come of lots of filling and sanding on here, I suspect. There we go. All part of the game, I suppose. Right, so here's the top piece finished and cut out. So we just need to paint this now and get this secured in. You'll notice this one is bolted through to the other side, so it'll be like a sandwich, if you will. So I'm going to bolt all three together now to give it a nice sturdy basically main shape, so I can get these sides. I can probably pack it out underneath a little bit and start sanding and filling. So yeah, that's the main bit done anyway. Right, so I've just watched Paul's video about his video that he watched about Ampro engineering using some bicarbonate of soda and some super glue. I have heard of this method before, but I've never used it. Yeah, main thing was, obviously I'm going to fill afterwards, but filler isn't an adhesive, is it? It's just to fill gaps. So basically I needed something that would keep these panels really tightly locked together, which is where the bicarbonate and super glue came in. So thanks very much to Paul for that one. Done the other side as well. Like I said, this is pre-sand. This is just bicarbonate and super glue. This is just to pin the panels together. So the panel outside is drying at the moment. We're going to clean all this up, put the panel in, make sure it's all bolted down, make sure everything's right, take the panel back out because that's our main top panel, and then start prepping this for paint. Right guys, so as you can see, we've added some more bicarbonate and super glue. I've decided to try and get a coat of primer on today so I can see where my high spots and low spots are, because it's getting difficult to see. I know there is some left, but adding a layer of primer after I've keyed it all will be a good indication of where I need to take out any more. So what we're going to do now is strip the rest of these off, strip the tailgate off, light lenses out of the back and the buckets, and we're going to get to keying all this, and we are then going to give it a coat of primer so we can see what we're actually doing then. So this is the bed as it stands at the moment. It's had a coat of primer, just one coat. It's just so I can identify where I need to sort of address. So here is going to be, obviously, I've not flattered anything down or added any filler. So I can concentrate on this area now. I can sand some of it back once this properly dries, and I can make sure that everything's properly flat before the top coat goes on. And here, once again, you can see we're not far off really. We're pretty close now to getting those gaps sealed up. Like I said, obviously not had any filler at the moment, so the filler will take out any of those holes or imperfections in there. And then it'll be another coat of primer or two, and then flatting, and then ready for paint, basically. Ready for top coat. So yeah, cheers for checking out part 2. Stay tuned for part 3. We had some colour to stuff and started getting those back axles, that very rear axle fitted after we've added on our bed. Thanks guys.